Next year, we'll be building a 100,000 ounce per annum gold mine in Western Australia that at these gold prices throws out a heap of cash.
How do you get financed off the back of a PFS?
Well, you don't. That's why we're doing a feasibility. They want all the permits. They want all these other things in place. And that's what's driving our construction, is it's our permitting that'll be complete, we believe, towards the end of this year.
Let's say you get into production end of next year, you start throwing off some cash. What is the company that you're trying to build here? Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and please leave your comments below. It just helps us try and understand what questions you'd like us to ask, what you think, and just generally your feedback on these interviews. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, for more videos like this, click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to David Reeves, who is the CEO of Calidus Resources, an Australian gold developer. They are relatively advanced. They've done their PFS, currently doing their feasibility study. They have cash, some quite good shareholders in place, relatively small single asset project, maybe something that they want to address in the future, but right now they're focused on getting this thing into production by the end of 2021. Lots of discussion around their business plan and hopes and how they're going to deliver those. Take a look in the description below. Anything you want to look at in particular, you can click on that timestamp. That'll take you to that part of the video. In the meantime, let's hear what David had to say. Hello, David. How are you, sir?
Matthew, sensational, and yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Coping, surviving, as it were.
Excellent.
Excellent. Well, you're joining us from sunny Perth. It's towards the end of the day, so but you've made some time to tell us your story. So why don't we kick off with that 1-minute summary, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Calidus, we're a gold development company with a project in Western Australia. We've completed a pre-feasibility study. We're currently in the middle of our feasibility study. And all being equal, next year we'll be building a 100,000 ounce per annum gold mine in Western Australia that at these gold prices throws out a heap of cash. And that is less than a minute because it's that simple.
Fantastic. Sounds simple. I bet it wasn't that simple to put together, but we're going to find out. Now, your share price was gaining a little bit of momentum up until the market reset and COVID-19. I think people were starting to take notice. Why do you think that was? The PFS spun out some, okay numbers in there. But what do you think people were getting excited about?
Oh, look, there's a massive disconnect between the gold price and our value. So since we put out the pre-fees, the NPV of the project, courtesy of the gold price, has gone up threefold, and our share price at that point had flat lined from the PFS. So I think people were starting to realise that all the money had gone into the producers, those that were directly exposed to the gold price. They were getting fully valued, so people said, well, where's the next opportunity? And that's the developers. And we were starting to see some good interest coming in, and then COVID came along and risk becomes an issue, and the non-producers, the non-cash producers are the ones that feel the bite first. But that's what we're aiming to do. Is next year is to be in production late next year, so that we move away from that, and that's the opportunity, is the massive re-rate on the back of moving into production. Okay,
well let's tell people who are new to this story a little bit about the sort of backstory, as it were. So how long have you been there?
Right. So yeah, there's a hell of a backstory here, so you might want to sit back, relax. And
Buckle up, get a drink. Right, okay.
And this will be very familiar to quite a few of our UK shareholders, in that I was MD of a company called Calidus Resources PLC, listed name. We were doing iron and manganese in West Africa. GFC came along, life got very difficult. So we were basically withering on the vine and dying. We needed something else to do, so we started doing some tribute mining, gold tribute mining back in Australia, where we'd go into someone else's lease, mine some gold, sell it, give them a portion of it. Wasn't overly profitable, but kept the lights on. And what it emphasised was, you don't want to be paying a lot of your profit away to someone else. You want to keep that profit. So we needed to find our own project. So we pulled this project together, Warrawoona, announced it to London, and London went, well, it's sort of exploration, we're not overly excited. We knew we needed lots of money to drill this and complete feasibilities, and there was a good appetite in Australia. So what we did was reverse it out of Keras and put it into a shell in Australia, which we call Calidus, which by the way means hot in Latin, and we're just outside Marble Bar, which is the hottest town in Australia. Record of 160 days in a row over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So just a bit of trivia for you. So we reversed it into there, listed it, raised $10 million, started drilling, and here we are today by the end of the year heading towards development. So when you say how long have I been involved? Since day dot, we saw the opportunity, we did 7 transactions, pulled it together, then had to do another transaction reversing into Australia so we could raise the money, and we've just done an in-specie distribution of those Keras shares to our UK, or to the Keras UK shareholders, which make up about 30% of our register.
Right, okay. So that's a great history, because it gives me a sense of what it is that you're trying to build. Like, you didn't want to be sort of giving away the profits, so you identified your own asset and built that out. Can you tell me a little bit about the team behind this? Because you kind of explained where you've come from, but what about the rest of the guys?
Yeah, so obviously started fairly small. So we've got a small team because we're not in production at the moment. We've got Richard Hill, our CFO. He just joined us a couple of months ago as we head towards financing. Paul Brennan, our COO, Chief Operating Officer, joined us getting on towards a year now, I think. He most recently was General Manager at a large gold mine here in Australia, so he brings a lot of that operating nous with him. And prior to that, we had a couple of geos with me. Jane Allen, our geology manager, was here from day one. She and I worked together many years ago at some gold mines in Western Australia, and I value her input. And Steve Shepherd came on for our exploration, drilling, mapping, etc. So pretty small crew. But a lot of experience in there. We've all been there, done it, be it building mines, operating mines, finding mines. So a good team for sure.
So who's the guy or gals who have built a mine, actually built the operation rather than operated it?
I've been involved with building 3 mines. So I worked up to the level of mine manager in Australia, then went across to Zimbabwe where we built a gold mine, 1.8 million tonne gold mine over there. Then went on to do a company called Zimplats, which is now the largest platinum producer outside of South Africa. So I did the feasibility and build on that. Mark Connolly, our chairman, has been involved with building multiple mines as well, both on the ground and on the financial side from the board perspective. So certainly on that side, I think we're better versed than the vast majority out there. And then we've got that operating knowledge as well with Paul and myself having been mine managers.
Right. So how does something like that, you've got a PFS, how does something like that get financed? You're talking about being in production. Sorry, did you say you're going to start building or in production by the end of next year? What was it?
In production end of next year.
Right. So how do you get financed off the back of a PFS?
Well, you don't. That's why we're doing a feasibility as we speak. So that feasibility will be complete this year. We've already started the debt process, and there's a range of debts. You can get conventional debt with banks, which is very standard in Australia. You can use private equity money, which will generally give you more debt, a higher level of debt, and less dilution for shareholders. You can look at streaming and royalty companies. They're awash with cash at the moment, offering good deals, and they can access capital generally at a lot more favourable rates than juniors can, and provide that at pretty competitive rates. So those are your 3 main debt components. So pick a number between 70 and 90% will be funded that way, and the rest you have to make up for, obviously, in equity.
Right, but if you look at sort of the traditional route, I'm talking traditional route, and I have seen more and more companies be the exception to the rule, but traditionally your pre-feas, feasibility, DFS or BFS, whatever you want to call it, that's the point at which you get finance, when you've got that kind of DFS in place. You're going at feasibility stage?
Yeah, so we will complete feasibility later this year, but during that process we'll have appointed an independent expert to be working through the resource, the metallurgy, all of those things that they can So by the time we finish the feasibility, it's very quick for the independent expert to finalise. We've obviously got draft financial models that we'll be updating all the time that we can provide to the banks along with an IM. So we get initial draft term sheets. We can shortlist, so when the independent expert report comes out later this year, we go to our favourite few banks, get their final proposals, credit-approved proposals, choose our debt provider and start the documentation.
But to answer the question is that you're saying those financial institutions, whichever of that mix you go with, are not saying to you, I need a definitive feasibility study as is labelled.
They will for credit approval, but they will provide indicative term sheets based on the updated financial model that we're updating constantly, because we are locking in. During that feasibility process, we'll be locking in preferred mining contractor, EPC prices on the plant. We'll be locking all those in. So, within a few months, we will have, for all intents and purposes, a final financial model that will only just have some minor tweaking at the end of the feasibility that they can use. And yeah, they'll have CPs. They want all the permits. They want all these other things in place. And we need to, so it's not just the feasibility, they need the permitting. And that's what's driving our construction, is it's our permitting that really drives it. And that'll be complete, we believe, towards the end of this year.
Okay, and those terms will be obviously conditional on all of those things being in place, but you'll have a very good sense of what the cost of that money is going to be for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Right, okay. So let's talk about that permitting, because that's always the long pole in the tent. Where are you with all of that?
Yeah, so look, the first day that we started, put foot on the ground, we started our environmental work. We were doing environmental monitoring before we started drilling, because we knew how important it would be. So we do have bats in an old working near us that are listed as vulnerable. So we have to refer ourselves to the Environmental Protection Agency here, which we have done, and also to the federal, the Commonwealth Government of Australia as well. So we've referred ourselves to both. The EPA in Western Australia, we've done 3 years of monitoring. We've really put a lot of time and effort into the science behind the issues. And what they've done is come back and given us what's called proponent referred process, which means all of the documentation we've done is more than adequate for them to make a decision and apply various provisions to our licence. So they are working through that now. And we expect to hear back from the board in the next, let's say, 4 months on that. And, we've had site visits with them, and we had a combined site visits with them and the Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth of Australia have decided to let the EPA undertake the review for them, and then they will make the decision on the review. So we've essentially got one review process happening. It's gone very well to date. We're not expecting any major hiccups, and we believe we'll have some positive news on that in the next 4 months or so.
Right. Is that the only permitting that's outstanding?
No. So once you've got that permit, that's the big one. Well, once you've got that, it goes to the Minister for sign-off. He normally takes a couple of months to clear the backlog on his desk, and he gets to signing it. As soon as the Minister's signed that, then we need all of our safety and operating permits through the Department of Mines. So that's what's called your project management plan, your mining proposal, your explosives licence, what have you. So we are working on them at the moment, all the documentation, and we'll submit them ahead of time. So that should be about a 2-month process once we get ministerial approval on the first main one. And separately to that, we've started applying for our water licence for construction. And once we've done some bore equipping later this year, we can apply for the full water licence.
Right, okay. And so what are you spending most of your time trying to get in place so you don't miss any deadlines?
So to a large degree, that permitting process is outside your control. We have done all the work we could do up until submission. We answer anything that comes along as quickly as possible. So really, Paul is working on the next lot of permits, so safety and operating permits. So he's fully engaged on that. I'm tackling more on the water side myself at the moment, just that requires drilling and things to happen in the field at the moment. So I'll jump onto that one, and that will make all that happen. Rich is working with the debt providers, our CFO. So there's a parallel approach between feasibility, financing, and permitting all coming together at the end of the year.
Okay. Can we talk about so touches upon the business plan that you guys had? Okay. So, I mean, this isn't a huge project per se. It's you're advanced. You've got cash. You've got Alkane Resources there who've got a lot of cash. Just quick, are they going to follow their money? They're sitting on 13% at the moment. Do you think they will follow?
Look, they've been a fantastic shareholder to date. They've always publicly said they're there to support people like ourselves move into development. They see that as a great investment opportunity. So certainly all the discussions we've had prior have been very positive in that regards, but obviously they'll want to see the studies, etc. Having said that, the pre-fee showed 100,000 ounces at $11.50 an ounce, Australian. Australian gold today is between 2,600 and 2,600 and 2,700. So, that's a project that can spin off on those numbers 140 to 150 million Aussie EBITDA per annum, with a capex bill of around, true capex of 100, including working cap about 120. So we're well under a year's payback.
Okay, so that's a maybe.
That's a maybe, yeah. Until someone signs a check, it's always a maybe.
Okay. Now, just wonder if because typically they would, have conversations with you. You sort of know their mindset, but they're going to wait and see what these numbers actually turn out to be before they commit. Okay, fair enough. But coming back to my point, it's not a huge project. So let's say you get into production end of next year, you start throwing off some cash. What is the company that you're trying to build here? Do you have enough to go and explore and develop elsewhere, or are you going to have to look at M&A type activity?
Yeah, look, we certainly believe that single asset companies trade at a discount to others, to multi-asset, just because of the risk profile. So we certainly want to be part of something bigger. Now, whether we're dinner or diner is the question. We're always looking at opportunities ourselves to grow. So that's certainly something that we're constantly looking at, and we are putting plans in place to grow our portfolio. Having said that, if we see an opportunity at 1 + 1 = 3 later down the track, we're very happy to take that to shareholders if we think it makes sense.
Okay, but where's your head at? What would you prefer? Would it rather be dinner or diner?
My head is firmly on completing the fees, getting the first mine into production. If there's opportunities along the way, fantastic. But really, that's all we should be looking at is let's start making cash. Once you make cash, everything else becomes a lot easier.
Okay, no, fair point. So how many shares have you got?
On issue in the company?
No, you. David.
Me personally? David owns about 7.5% of the company.
Wow, you're in it. And were you? How did you get those?
Cash. So I bought both on market here in Australia, but the main holding came through Crux, where I was the largest shareholder there by putting in quite a lot of cash over the last, goodness knows, decade. Right. Okay. And you still buying? I bought a couple of weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago to 2 weeks ago, when the coronavirus first hit and the share prices were getting slammed. It was too good an opportunity not to try and double a toe in again. Right. Okay. And so, what about some of your other board members? Are they buyers as well? Yeah, not as much. Everyone's got their own personal positions in life. We've had a couple of the senior management buy in, so that's good. And yeah, certainly on the road shows when we go around chatting with people, the single question is, why are you so cheap? What's wrong with the project? And you just say we're under the radar as we move down this next 6 months and start ticking those boxes of permit, feasibility, see through onto the debt. It has to change at some point. Is that all they're saying? They're just saying, okay, every CEO goes, we're undervalued, right? So that we'll take that as read. But what are the big questions that they're asking you? Is it just a case of you're in that very boring phase of development, just prior to getting to production, and people are just waiting for you to, get those term sheets in place, or is there more to it? Yeah, No, that's pretty much it. So I think someone summed it up well when I was talking to the other day, saying in the past you'd have a checklist of 10 items, and every item you'd go up 20%, tick, 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 as you de-risk the project. Now it seems that you've got to tick 9 of them, maybe 10, and then bang, it's just one jump, up you go. So that's one of the fundamental things that's changed in recent years, is there's no longer that incremental growth as you de-risk. It really is show us everything's in place, then we're in.
Right. Okay. And obviously, you've got quite a few things happening. Is most of this sort of desktop research at the moment? There's nothing happening in the field that you need to be doing, and if there is, are you able to at the moment?
Yeah. So we're in a fortunate position of nothing in the field needs to be done. We've done all the drilling for the feasibility last year. There's some drilling we'd like to do, just targeting sort of 500-600 metres below the ore body, just to show it exists, and this thing will be around for a lot longer yet. This mine, not this thing. That would have been good. We do need to do waterborne drilling at some point this year. There's nothing stopping exploration and mining companies operating in Western Australia. Within Western Australia, the borders to West Australia are closed, but internally, mining and exploration companies have exemptions to move around. So we can do things when we need to.
Okay. Well, David, that's a nice first introduction to the company. I mean, I hadn't heard the story before, and you are under the radar. We're picking up, I think, since since the start of the new year, people were looking at you again, starting to look at you again. I hope you get back there again soon. Sounds like you've got it all under control.
As much as can be in this wonderful world in which we currently live.
Well, stay in touch. Certainly when some of these things start to manifest themselves, pick up the phone, give us a call, and let us know how you're getting on, because we'd like to know more about this story, which is completely new to us. So appreciate your time today. You better get back out there in the sunshine.
Thank you very much, and thanks for reaching out. I will. Oh, look at that. It's 10 minutes to beer o'clock. How fortunate.